Hello. Welcome back to a new YouTube video. It is me, Population Me, coming back at you in a new week. Hi. If you just saw what I was making, I made a poke bowl, my version of it. I didn't have tuna, so I used crab instead. It's really good, but just wanted to test out something different on my channel is meal prepping. I usually meal prep once or twice a week, seeing how I go in the office 3 times a week. Sometimes I'm hybrid, sometimes I'm remote. Sometimes I'm in the office every day. It really depends on what my client wants or my manager wants too. So meal prepping is usually good for me, and making that video helped me do it because I'm not in the office this week, but I know next week I'll be in the office. I like to prep for like a week or a half, depending on how much food I have to make food with. How much food, anyway. But yeah, that's what I was doing. But I am finally fully situated back in Chicago. I got my luggage back. Yay! It actually came on Monday. So today's the 8th. Hello, hi. It's me. And my luggage came on Monday. If you watched my last video, my luggage was missing from the airport. So I had to file a whole baggage claim and everything. But it finally came on Monday. So I was lucky enough to not be stressed out for more than a day. So I'm really happy about that. Yay. I have all my stuff. Nothing's broken. Thank God. But saying all that, I can finally talk about Ireland and how much of an experience it was. Because for me, this would be my first time traveling internationally. And as someone who doesn't like to leave the comfort of their own home, going internationally was really fun. It was a really fun experience overall. You saw the things I did. It was really great. I couldn't knock it too much because honestly, whatever, I love the place. People love the Olympics there. They love US politics. I didn't talk about this, but people who I had as Uber drivers always talk about politics, and I was like, wow, you guys are more locked in than we are at the moment. But it was nice conversation because it was my first time speaking about politics to someone in person, because people usually have their own opinions about things. So it was nice to talk about politics that wasn't rage baiting, whatever, you know how they are. But that was very interesting for me. But even coming back from Chicago, from Ireland, suddenly in the last few days, I have not gone anywhere because work, but also because today is Thursday. So I mean, where am I gonna go? But at the same time, it's I'm trying to fully immerse back into the home I left away 2 weeks ago. So a lot of things were dusty in my house, and I have to clean it, which is kind of weird because you don't know what is dust. I don't know how dust works, but it's so funny how dust accumulates in places I don't clean regularly, and then when I'm gone, it starts to act like my presence was the cleaner. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway. But the reason why I wanted to make a new video on top of the video I already made, I was stressing out. Surprise, I'm no longer stressed out. Hi. But the reason I'm making this video is kind of wanted to talk about talking about happiness versus contentment. So I saw this recent LinkedIn post by one of my friends who went to a different school after high school and got into this company, and he was speaking for their company in a speaker role. I don't know what it was, but it was he was promoting their company to a bunch of students in a mentoring role. And he was talking about in his post how he doesn't usually always feel happiness. He feels contentment in things that he does, but that one day that he was able to speak to a bunch of students that were once in he was once in their shoes, he was able to understand oh, this is what happiness is seeing the smiles in these people's eyes and understanding more about what they're going through. They can one day get out of it because he has gone out of it. And I thought, wow, that's a very interesting post because one, you don't get to speak to a lot of kids or even other students from other backgrounds than your own that often, especially if you're a new grad like me or someone who's even in a remote position, because where are you going? But really what got me talking about this was when he talked about not being happy as much and being more content with things how they are and not pushing past the limit of how better things can be for him. And not to say he's good with the status quo or anything, but I saw it more as someone being happy with, or just being happy with what they have and just striving for things they saw themselves foreseeing. If they saw themselves foreseeing a promotion one day, right? You're happy about that, yay. But you also saw the potential of what promotion can give you if this is making sense. Happiness is going to an amusement park and having the best time of your life, but then coming home and having to clean, pack, cook, whatever, right? But being content is finding an apartment you always wanted, seeing what you can do in it, really like letting yourself be free in your new home, letting yourself like buy food in your new fridge, setting yourself up on a kitchen island and just do whatever you want on it and not feeling like you're meant for more or you're definitely gonna get less. It's kind of just being like in your own world kind of without feeling like, oh, I'm not meant for anything greater. This is going to be kind of hard to explain it in my own mind just because I didn't realize I was this way, but I'm realizing I'm more content with things, more than I'm happy with things. And this might be more because I used to be a pessimist. I used to always think the worst will always, not the worst, but like bad things will happen before they ever become good. But the bad must stay for a while before you realize that the good was the silver lining the entire time. So in my experience in life, I never had like super high moments where I'm like, oh, this is like the best day of my life. You know, it's always like field trips at school were like really great, or, you know, having a day off was like subpar, like better than just going to school, right? But I never felt like so much gratitude for something that was like extremely happy about it, other than maybe getting to the college I wanted or getting to the company I wanted or like finding money on the ground where I was like, oh my God, $20, crazy. And those will always be highs. If I find money on the ground, it was a payday for me, let's be honest. But I never realized that me being content for things kind of went with me being a pessimist and everything else. It meant me being like, you're always going to see the worst in something before you truly saw that there was something good coming out of it. So for example, when I grew up, I lived in the south side of Chicago. So I went to school in the south side of Chicago as well for high school and elementary and everything else, right? And a lot of times, there would be some things at school you kind of question a lot, like whether it was gang violence or whether it was like a bad test happening or something that was just going to interrupt the school day and make you feel some type of way about life. You know, like, you know, you remember you had snow days, but we wouldn't have snow days. Like, if you know one thing about Chicago is very good at not giving snow days to their CPS, Chicago Public School students. You'll hear suburbs kids always get snow days off, but you'll always hear Chicago kids, we never get snow days. We'll go to school while it's like -10, and you're hearing parents taking their kids out of school because sometimes the heater in the building wouldn't work, so we're all just freezing in class and wondering why we couldn't go home. And those kind of days, you really start to question, like, is this the worst we can really get? Like, are we really meant to be here? And those are days that I felt kind of pessimistic in those mindsets, because it's like, why are we going to school? Why are you reading on the news like, oh, these kids in the suburbs, they actually have snow days for the entire week because, you know, they care about their student health. But then you go to CPS, Chicago Public Schools, not the other CPS, thank you. You go to CPS and then they'll be like, oh, but if you don't go to school, your school is funding, and then you can't get the supplies you need for the next school year because we're poor or whatever. And it kind of sucked for the teachers and my principal, because they always had to force us to go to school or force us to never take days off. Like, it was very, I wouldn't say rigorous, but it was very more front line of, because we're the South Side, we're seen as lesser than other schools, obviously. Like, we're not the best schools in the city. We're barely the best schools in the state. So for us to be like, oh, you actually cannot take a school day or a snow day, it was just the norm for us for 4 to 6 to 8 years, because elementary and high school, right? So that kind of put in my mindset that you work hard for things that you don't want other people to take away, right? You work hard to go to school every day so that the CPS or your teachers don't see it as like, oh, you're taking days off your own schooling, so that means we got to add it onto your summer, or we got to add it on to like your original break. Or like when we had like, another example would be like when we had school strikes. Teacher strikes happens almost every year when I went to school. Teachers would always be striking because they want more money, because they were not getting paid enough. They want more days off. They want longer maternity leave, because it's like, it was kind of crazy how some teachers went through having like 2 months of maternity leave and they were forced to come back or leave to school. It's kind of crazy. But they would have school strikes. The longest I ever went out of school was like for a week straight. So for a week straight, teachers were on strike in downtown, in the streets, whatever, and we couldn't go to school. Obviously, it felt great to be in that position of like not having to deal with teachers for a week, right? But you're also like bored, because what am I doing for a week if not school or whatever? But when you come back to school, you're like, oh, life goes on, right? We just continue school and we're getting off at the same time in the summertime. wrong. You'd be incorrect. Of course you would be. Because in my district in Chicago, we are forced to have the week we lost because of the strike to be tacked on to our school year, onto our summer, right? So summer usually starts for students around June, like mid-June, maybe the 15th or whatever. But during strike years, which is like almost every year, you add an extra week on to that. And it started to get to the point where our summers were being cut short every year because as school years goes on, schools were no longer starting in September. They started in like late August, but they still ended like mid-June. So you're attacking on a week to that mid-June all the way to August. You're getting like barely 2.5 months of actual summer. And obviously there is a normal number of days that students are allowed to be outside of school for the summer, but they were always like never enforced because strikes would happen, right? Snow days would happen, and they get tacked on to our school year in the summer. So all this to really say is that all these things were kind of becoming more of like, because you lost out on something that one, you couldn't control, but also two, something that you could not see yourself changing if you had the power to. Like I couldn't go to school and say, I'm not doing this for the summertime. I had no power of that. We are somehow punished for it in a way. Like the students were always being punished for what teachers did, which is fair. I mean, obviously, you get the money, but we were the ones who had a less summer because of it. Or snow days. It would be like, oh, because it snowed in, you can't go to school. And it's before Zoom, before the pandemic, so we would just not have school for real if we had snow days. We only ever had snow days when teachers were like literally forced by parents to like not let us go to school because, spoiler alert, parents don't want to see their kids outside when it's negative 10 degrees. So yeah, but those days would be tacked on to our summer as well. So, you know, we barely have a summer, but now you barely have like 2 months of a summer. So that all to say, like when it comes to me now and having dealt with like the school system and like whatever happened in college and how people in real life really act around like happiness and these things being like really go-getters, or like some people call them goals in some way, like, oh, getting a Lamborghini would be a great thing, or buying my first home would be a great thing. And obviously those type of things are like enjoyment. They're something you should strive for if you ever, or like, I don't know, grew up poor, or maybe you just didn't have enough money, or maybe it just motivates you to go to your shitty job the next day. But for me, it always felt like if I ever tried to be happy for something, it would be quickly taken away from me. Like if I strive to be happy enough to get like a car, for example, and it's a brand new car, once that warranty ends in like 3-4 years from now, it will break down. I'll be forced to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket, and then the insurance will increase because now my car warranty is gone, now my car is breaking down, yada, yada, yada. And to me, it's like, oh, I'm now being punished for having a car and my warranty, you know, no longer being renewed or whatever. And now I'm being punished for needing a vehicle that I always strive to have that I never had before. I don't have a car, by the way. A little example. But it kind of just shows to me like things that are happiness to one person outside of like my realm of understanding is to me seen as more like, oh, if I have this, then something will come, like a little bowler that prisoners have in those cartoons, or be dragging along with it. So I get a car, but here is now a bunch of interest debt because you took out a loan for the car, or maybe because you couldn't pay it off, or your car is broken and you didn't know it, you know, things like that. So for me, I wouldn't say like happiness is in the bag for me. I mean, I would say like, I am happy. I am fine. I'm not like going through it or anything. But for me, being happy doesn't always mean like having the enjoyment of going out and then being like, oh, I'm with my friends. This is such a great experience. For me, being out with my friends, being out with family, it's not happiness for me, it's contentment, right? Like I'm content being alone in my apartment alone because I love it here. I chose this apartment for a reason. I love the space I have. I love being alone in it, being with my thoughts, making videos, obviously. But when I'm with my friends, with my family, when I'm with people I'm trying to get to know, I mean, getting to know people can be uncomfortable, but friends and family, those are also contentment because one, you never know when people could be gone, right? So that's another like layer, pessimist, whatever. But two, it's like those friends you made over years, you have that connection that they kind of are your family in a way. And your family is family. So you see them as like, when can I see you next time is always a question they ask. And it's like, oh, hopefully soon, right? And for me, that's contentment. And contentment really means like being good at where you are like strive for more, obviously, but being good where you are and never be ungrateful for what you got, you know, because when you grow up poor, right, you don't have a lot and people around you have more than you, and you just question like, how did they grow up in that situation, and why am I in this situation? How do I get out of my situation to be in their situation? And striving for what I have now, going to a 4-year, getting scholarships, going to a good company, and having more money than I ever had in my entire life combined, it starts to wonder like, am I at a place where I feel content with something I have, or am I still chasing a dream of something that I want to get? Like, do I want to have a family home? Do I want to have a Lamborghini? Do I want to like own my own business? Like, are these goals that I'm striving to have because they'll make me happy, or because I know like once I get there, I can like mellow out and be and like live on that hype of like, you did this, you got this. Now take a few years off to like really bask in what journey you took to get there. Because I know with the job market now, a lot of people are looking for like their dream jobs, right? A lot of people who maybe left their current jobs or maybe want to have a better career in their lives, looking for their dream jobs. But sometimes our dream jobs don't pay well, or they don't exist, or you have to go to another country to get it, right? So those type of jobs, you have to start to question like, are you getting these jobs because you know you always wanted that as a kid, or even as a teenager or as an adult or whatever? Or are you getting this job because once you know you're there, it could be a stepping stone for either something greater in your life, or you just be enough to like, no, like this would be good for me to like take a few years off, enjoy this company that I worked so hard to get, and understand that whatever I'm striving to get from this company, I will get it, no matter if it comes out with bad management, whether it comes out with a really bad bonus one year. Like, you know, like having these type of things in a company, they don't make or break like what you expect of it, right? You expect a dream company to be your dream, but everyone knows these dreams are in your mind and not in real life. But even all that said, it's the same aspect of what I think in my head. And right now, I don't know if I'm making sense to anyone. Let me know if this makes sense. But being content was always built in being pessimistic, because I could never see myself being truly, truly happy. I'm always grateful. Those are two different things to me. But being truly, truly happy just meant that the moment you're happy, you're anxious about what can go wrong. And once you're anxious about what can go wrong, something already went wrong, because why are you so anxious about it, right? And I'm not anxious enough to have to see anything or do anything or have anything. I'm good. I'm working on it. But even with all that said, I think being content for me, it's just maybe another version of being happy. Maybe it's just me having to deal with the things that I have and always being grateful for it, and always hoping and praying that, knocking on wood, would actually keep it in my life long enough for me to be feeling more relieved, because you never know what tomorrow can bring. Tomorrow can bring eviction. It can bring my apartment burning. I don't know, knock on wood for real. Oh my God, it freaked me out. But just knowing that I have these things in my life now, I'm grateful to be here. I'm striving for the next thing forever and always. Promotion day is around the corner. Striving for it forever and always. But at the end of the day, I don't want to feel like I have to be happy in order to like be where I'm at and be okay where I'm at, if this makes sense. Like, let's say for analogy, you wanted to like move out your apartment, move out your family home. I know I wanted to at one point, but moving out your family home would be your dream job. But let's say one day you have to go back to your family home in 20 years. Are you going to be devastated? Yes, I would be, very much so. But if you were very much living in your best life, the 20 years you strive to look for your own place, maybe you didn't get it, that's why you had to leave. Could you possibly have done something different? Maybe. But could you be content with the fact that you have tried your hardest to work it out before it failed? Would you just be, you know, beating yourself up because you believe this is your chance to like prove people wrong, say you can't live independently, work on your own life? And for me, that's just the biggest thing I always work on. Is like, if I'm getting to a point in life where I'm like, I need to work on this project, I need to work with my friend group, I need to build more connections. Am I doing it knowing that the worst case scenario could be I lose it all? And if I do lose it all, can I be happy or just content knowing that I did my best to get to that point? And once it gets away, or if it gets, let's not say it when, if it ever leaves me, can I be like, oh, okay, but I tried my best. And I know I tried my best. And I enjoyed the best I could when it happened. And I won't be disappointed. I won't be beating myself up. I'll be like, no, I cannot do it. I did my best, and I'm striving to be better at this point in time. If I take a step back to move 10 steps forwards, I will, and that's what I'm always hoping to get. So hopefully the analogy worked out. If not, but you know, hopefully you enjoyed a little meal prep I did in the morning. It just got me thinking about, like, I don't know, being content, being happiness. Shout out to my friend who posted that LinkedIn post. He was cool. Yeah, I am happy. I am content. I am grateful. I'm all of it in a circle. But in my years before, days before, months before, I always felt like happiness was attainable, but it was also very fleeting. And reaching for something that was so fleeting was never meant to be in my grasp. Like, anyone can go to an amusement park and come home and be like, that was great, but I can never do that again, right? But it's not a fleeting thing, because you're going to have memories. And if I have memories from my happiness, that means I was content in what I got. And I was never letting it just be a fleeting memory. So I do believe being content and being happy goes hand in hand. But it is always good for me to know the distinction of both, just so that I can be, like, grounded in what I have. And just be, like, overall knowledgeable that whatever I receive or whatever I get, whether it's luck, whether it's skill, whether it's merits or whatever, it was in my path for a reason. And I'm just happy it didn't leave me to go, you know, double it and give it to the next person, you know? So I'm happy to be here. And that's really just me talking. So that was good. That was nice to get off my chest. But yeah, hi, it is me, Population Me. And I'm signing off this video. If you are here this long, thank you so much. And if you actually watch it to the end, thank you, because this might be not a long video, and I'm sorry for that, but it's okay. Put in the comments whether you believe you are content, happy, if they're one and the same for you. Maybe you don't know, maybe you're a pessimist for real and you don't care, but put in the comments what you want to see next for my next video. I have ideas, but it doesn't hurt to have more. So thank you again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.